So, hello everyone. I think the recording has started, and I'm not going to get cut off with this very first line. So today we are on. I don't remember the number of episodes that we've done for Office Hours, but I think this is the fifth one if I've gotten it right.
Yes.
If it's not, please, I'm sorry about that in advance. Uh, but I'm very excited today personally, primarily because we were speaking, Olivia and me, before everyone joined, and we were, you know, talking about how this is like an interesting session, not primarily from the perspective of knowing everything about the tech, like from the technical side of things, but also to know how it's being utilized. So where whatever you do as part of your open source contributions, how does it affect like the wider world, the outside world, and where are your contributions actually going, not in terms of actual um, you know technical code or whatever, but people have been adopting the technology that you write the docs for, or write the code for, or you write the sample installation script for. And that's what Olivia is going to speak about today. But before I give it over to her, just brief PSA that any questions that we have, leave them on the chat. We will get to it towards the end. So this is so that the flow doesn't get interrupted, and we're able to actually save the questions for later. So you can just put them on the chat, and we definitely will get to them towards the end of the presentation. Don't worry. If we don't, I mean, if we don't get to them, you can, we can continue the conversation on Slack as well. None of us are running away, as far as I know. So, yeah, with that, over to you, Olivia.
Thank you, Divya. That was good. I will share my screen and thank you for the introduction. Um, is this visible? So,
Yes, it is now.
so the transcription is coming here. I don't know how to turn this off. Does anyone know? There used to be a
Sorry, I was speaking on mute, but I've turned on the transcription. Um, so do we want it on or do we want it off? You
maybe.
can click the CC button at the bottom of the screen if you don't want it on your screen.
Yeah, I cannot find it.
The, on
On your Google Meets window.
Oh, on the Google Meet window.
on the
Okay.
Yeah.
Google Meet window, when you have a microphone, camera, and then there is a CC button. The next
Yeah.
that
Yeah. So you've enabled it right now. You can just click disable there. Like
click.
just, yeah.
It was disabled.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's right now I can see the transcription. And
Okay. So you don't see what's coming here. Okay. Hello, everyone. If you can see my screen, right? Shared. Yes. Okay. So my name is Olyvia. I lead marketing here and also user experience and from a product side. So very happy to be here to present. Like Divya was saying that when we work on a technology, we want to be often, and also as human beings, we always want to be part of something bigger than ourselves. So where this technology applies, which problems it's solving in the industry, that's what we'll discuss today. And we have several folks from Avesha as well. So, keep the questions coming and we will answer them and let this be a very free-flowing discussion format. I know Divya has said you can ask questions after, but if there's something pressing during what I'm talking about, then feel free. So first, I wanted to recap on what you've been as Divya mentioned, it's the fifth session that we are having with you guys. So what is KubeSlice from a user perspective? So Slice, when you think about it, it does two things. it's all about that application level connectivity, and more so when applications are distributed across clusters. And it's also that application level isolation, which brings in the security and all of the optimization of infrastructure that we talk about. So when you see this very basic diagram that we've put out there, so you see a pink slice and a green slice and a blue slice. It's not very legible what it's in here, but there are application services and there are what it says here is manufacturing services. So you're isolating different kind of applications across the three clouds that are shown here. And then you have a controller that manages it all. And all of those are components of KubeSlice. So application connectivity and isolation, those are the two things I want you guys to always remember when you create a slice, when you play around with the slice from an open source perspective. So what are the characteristics? Again, we talk about, again, from a isolation and connectivity standpoint, there are two pillars continuing with that thought. There is multi-tenancy, which is the isolation, which gives you the isolation required for different tenants, and then multi-cluster connectivity. So on the left-hand side, for multi-tenancy, we have the isolation with respect to setting RBAC or access per tenant. How do you set access that's different from one tenant to the other? How do you allocate resources, storage, memory, CPU that is different from one tenant to another? How do you isolate at the network level? How do you set that network policy isolation from one slice to another? So that's a key aspect that we bring with our slices. And what does that do benefit-wise? It saves costs, because for every application that's out there, for every tenant or a customer or a team that you want to bring in, you don't have to spin up new clusters. You can use the same set of clusters or the same set of clusters that are distributed across clouds, and you can create several slices, isolated slices for each of them. It also saves time. This is an automation that we are bringing. So you set it once and you extend that slice to the next cluster and the next cluster, and it's all pre-programmed, if you will. And so it saves a lot of DevOps and developer time to get such an infrastructure set up. And it's also more secure, so that network policy, that isolate by network policy flag that you set on a slice as you work with it more, that makes it more secure, where there's no traffic that can infiltrate into a slice once that is set up. So those are several features from a multi-tenancy standpoint, where we really provide that hard isolation between slices and between the different layers that you see in this diagram. And then coming over to the connectivity side. So at the end of the day, if you see, again, we have AWS here and Google Cloud here and Azure here. So we have this virtual connectivity, if you will, or a virtual cluster that we are creating across these clouds and these clusters. Sorry. So what are the characteristics of that connectivity? What we call it as an overlay network. It's not a physical network, but it's on the physical network, and it's an overlay that connects applications. And there are several aspects to it. On the slice, you can set some QoS profiles. So you can literally say that this is a low latency, a high performing slice, and this is a medium performing slice. So there are some certain parameters that you can set, which is very important for some of the use cases that we'll be seeing after this. And that manages the traffic accordingly, so they get more priority from a bandwidth standpoint. Then it's also secure, and There is what we call as an MTLS security between pod to pod, and that open VPN connection that is set between clusters is very secure. So that's another aspect of the multi-cluster connectivity. And lastly, we like to point out, because this has come up in several of our customer conversations, that there are no IP address conflicts. All of the time that DevOps and engineers like you spend in creating IP mapping tables and making sure that this cluster has unique IP addresses and the other cluster has unique ones, and so that there are no conflicts faced when they are connecting and their services are communicating with each other. So when you set up a slice, um, you can the slice IP addresses, it trumps all over whatever you may have set underneath. It disregards those, and services can very seamlessly communicate without any without facing any conflicts, or platform engineers having to worry about what those IP ranges should be. Again, it saves time, it saves costs because of all of this extra work that you don't have to do. It is more secure uh, because of the framework that those tunnels that are established across clusters. And also because of that QoS feature that we have, where you can have a high bandwidth slice and a medium bandwidth slice and a low bandwidth slice, you get better application performance, which is very good for the low latency applications out there. Um, any questions so far? Shall I move along, Divya?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. So now comes the fun part. So where are these being applied? So the first use case, it's a work that we are doing actively right now, and I'm also very closely involved. And hopefully, we'll be able to get someone from this particular company to come and talk in one of these sessions. I have not mentioned the companies here, but these are real use cases that we are working on, or we are, starting to work on right now. So there are 5 of them that I will talk about. So this is a large edge service provider in the US, and they are building out an edge network and hundreds of edge networks. And as I was mentioning earlier, that there are all of these applications like gaming. Those of you who do multiplayer gaming, latency is a big factor there. When you run AI for innovation, we were involved with an AI application for the medical professionals. So their latency was very important. The AI needed to deliver in real time. So in those cases, as you all know, that we need edge servers and we need parts of the applications to run on the edge compute, which is closer to the user. So these edge services companies, they are trying to provide seamless services like the hyperscalers, but not in one specific location of a cloud or an availability zone. There are hundreds of edge servers that are going to be scattered across the country, and they will provide the best performance for these kind of applications. So where do we fit in? So this concept of an application fabric actually came also from this particular company. They call it an edge fabric. So KubeSlice is creating an edge fabric, if you will, connecting all these hundreds of edges to the cloud, to their data centers, on which applications are going to communicate with each other. So like it says there, Slice connects all the edges and the clouds and the central data center. And the first implementation that we are providing to them, their customers, this edge service provider's customers, that is a gaming company or an AI company, they are going to create slices for their teams. So the teams that work on the most mission critical applications get one slice with the highest QoS profile that we talked about earlier. So it's a team-based isolation, and when they go through this edge company's platform, there's integrations there where they will choose a slice and create or choose a slice that has been pre-created for them, and onboard their applications. If you've gone through our open source installation, you've seen that when you create a slice, after that you bring in namespaces onto the slice. Those are the applications that you're bringing. You can bring in namespaces from one cluster in one location and another cluster in another location, and they all form part of that slice. And that's a capability that this edge company is providing to its customers, its gaming customers, or the other low latency application customers that they have. And the other aspect of it that we also do with the slice is that we are able to determine where the traffic should go. So like the last bullet point there, it says traffic steering to the right edge. So diverting the traffic to these edge servers. They're small, they can only process a certain amount of compute at a time. So diverting the traffic to the right edge, that's another aspect of functionality that we provide at the network level. So again, a very exciting use case, and we are excited to be a fundamental part of, with our technology, to be part of these, exciting applications, newer type of applications that the world is moving to. And then we come to the next use case. So this is for all the fashion lovers out there. This is another good one, which is on, there is a company in the US, a brand in the US that's a high-end fashion, retail fashion, and pretty well-known worldwide. I have not published names here, but once we start talking about it, you will probably see it in some PR somewhere. But this fashion retail has very big plans. And as you know, retail is moving to a lot of newer type of applications with respect to customer experience. That how do you, with this digital transformation that most companies are going to, how do you really transform the experience, the shopping experience of a customer? And the high-end brands are focusing on it more. Like it says here, that it's adopting new shopping experience for the customers. How do you use technologies like AR and VR and really augment? So it's all about catching that impulse buying, feeling that we all have. That once somebody feels good, then they are ready to buy immediately and spend that large amount of money on a purse or on shoes. And all of us can relate to that, whether women or men. So immersive experience is the key. And the good thing about this project is we are going to be involved in almost the end-to-end aspect of this whole experience. We will be will be doing some of the front end work, and also, of course, the underlying infrastructure that KubeSlice will manage. So there are multiple edges here, because when shoppers come to a store, the idea is that maybe they will have some Oculus Rift type of some headset, and they will be completely transported to a different world, and they can choose some dresses on and see how they will look in a concert, or in a Christmas party, or in some Broadway theater, or something like that. And for all of that processing, for the customer to be able to experience that in the store, you need to have those retail edge devices. I'm sorry, edge devices inside the store. And again, it's all about connecting those hundreds of devices. It's all about steering the traffic to the right edge. It's all about services communicating between the cloud and the edge. Again, the edges, these are small devices. They cannot carry the entire stack. So how does a certain part of the applications that are distributed remain in the cloud, but the critical parts that need to, you know, perform instantly, they are at the edge. And how do you connect them? How do they share data? And how does KubeSlice help with that service to service communication? So the tunnel that we have, again, with its QoS features and the fact that the networking experts here will tell you that the traffic becomes east-west. You don't have to go through firewalls and API gateways and into the internet and back into another uh, cloud or into a cluster. It's a dedicated tunnel which improves performance, and it's better for security. And if it's the same customers' clouds in different regions, there is no reason for it to go out into the internet and come back again into another cluster. So it can use the slice tunnels, and the enterprises outside are recognizing that, and you know, going for this edge fabric that KubeSlice creates. The last aspect of a retail use case is what we call a disconnected edge, where when a customer, as you know, from a customer standpoint, when you are in the middle of an experience, you know, seeing yourself in decked in the best clothes or purse or what have you inside a store, and the edge loses connectivity, you don't want your experience to, or the customer's experience to be throttled at that point. So how do you keep the customer's experience continue? How does that edge, even if it is disconnected, continue to function? So that's another aspect that the KubeSlice fabric will be assisting with, or will be, that's another feature that will be built into it. And once the edge is back into the network, how does quickly, without much DevOps and platform work, how do the applications start communicating back? How does it, you know, relay all of the data within that downtime back to the cloud for you know, just the end of the day conforming purposes. So we have demonstrated that once the edge is disconnected and it comes back up almost in seconds, data is synchronized back to the cloud. Whereas in other cases, you know, you have to keep pinging to see that the services are back up. You have to do things to bring the services back up. But that slice automation really saves time in a disconnected use case as well. So again, very exciting stuff happening in the retail space as well. Shall I go along, Divya?
Yeah, I think so. Does anyone have any questions so far? Please, and ask. It's fine. Ask on the chat. We can get to them in between, but if not, we'll just get to them in the end. That's also fine. But please leave your questions on the chat. We can't reveal names, so that's the only question you probably should not ask. But other than that, yeah, any questions that you might have on the how tos? We have all our experts on the call. So you should definitely consider asking, the how tos of the implementation, or any specific implementation, really.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, we will try to get people from these companies in subsequent calls, and we can talk about more details about implementation as well. This is an overview of the different types of work where the slice is being utilized. Thanks, Divya. So the next use case is a healthcare insurance company. Again, very large deployment, and they are multi-cloud. Um, Insurance, as you know, they have large volumes of data. Security is important for them. And this particular company has an AWS and a GCP deployment, and they are looking to us for that multi-cloud connectivity. And it's interesting that there's a lot of talk of multi-cloud, but not too many really automated and reliable solutions out there that we are learning, or not too many that can do things as easily as KubeSlice can, where you can bring in workloads from any cloud and have them make themselves discoverable to each other. So a big win in the technology that we have built there. The same kind of characteristics and features apply. It's a secure east-west connectivity across all clouds, and it's that seamless. Down the line, there will also be features about, we are bringing in that intelligence to KubeSlice. If you've seen the roadmap, I think we had a session on that earlier, where KubeSlice will become intelligent to determine, okay, this cloud is less expensive at this time, so I will run the workloads on GCP, and that in of itself is one of, I mean, that feature is of huge importance to this particular company, because cloud costs for these large and small companies is a big problem. It's a big part, almost sometimes 70% of their revenue. So so everyone's looking to how to manage those kind of costs. So there's an intelligent piece of software that can take cost into account and move workloads. And with our KubeSlice fabric, that's very easy to do. Then that's hugely beneficial. So so Slice, the second bullet point, it can provide faster, cheaper, and more secure VPN connectivity for API communication, service-to-service communication. That's another feature that will be part of this deployment. These are inherent KubeSlice capabilities. Then we have the whole cost optimization aspect of it. The cost optimization comes with this AI part of KubeSlice that's coming down the road, but it's actually not. It is not open sourced, but it is being. We are demoing it right now. It's a developed piece of functionality, but also the resource optimization part, where you can assign certain resources to a slice, that also lends itself to a cost optimization factor, because then you're limiting in Kubernetes, you're able to limit at the namespace level using a slice as to how much resources that particular set of namespaces can consume. So teams are not going out of whack and crazy and just hogging up everything, which leads to all these escalated cloud costs. This company, this healthcare insurance company, is also interested in the observability piece. We have a nice tool that you can observe all these slices and all these service-to-service communication and all of your deployments across clusters and how the traffic is flowing. That's a nice tool that we have. So that's also, some of these are open source features, some of these are not. But since I was talking about the use case, I am talking to you about the entire suite of benefits that we are bringing to the particular use case. And the traffic steering to the right cloud based on the lowest cost profiles. So that's another aspect that we have. Moving along on similar lines is our use case 4. This is so I've tried to pick up very diverse ones. So we touched upon an edge company providing services to gaming. We did retail. We did healthcare insurance. This is a new one that's come into our portfolio. It's a conversational AI platform. So when you go to a particular website or these e-commerce sites or any site for that matter these days, suddenly a pop-up comes up, may I help you? And you start asking questions and you're getting answers. So it's a bot that's doing that. So I don't know if you've heard about Drift. So it's a Drift, though they are market leaders in this space. So it's a platform like that. And their main pain point or requirement, if you will, is migration. They are looking to transform. They're growing rapidly, and so they want to migrate from data center to GCP. And as part of this migration process, what happens is you don't you're not able to completely take all of your applications and boom, move them to the cloud. It's done in stages. So there is an aspect of it that whatever is moved to the cloud needs to communicate back to the data center. So again, disparate workloads communicating with each other, where a slice comes in. It needs to be secure. It needs to have that high performance capability. So we come in for that connectivity piece of that migration for this conversational AI platform that's looking to scale and move to GCP. So fundamentally, it's all tying back to what we talked about right in the beginning, right? So whenever you think about KubeSlice, work on KubeSlice, or you're writing a piece of article, think about two things: that KubeSlice helps with that multi-cluster connectivity, and KubeSlice helps with that isolation. And we save time, we save costs, and we make it more secure, and we also help with the performance of the applications. So the same flavor applies, but to various different use cases for these companies. And the last one, which is also very different and an exciting one with all of the 5G talk, especially those of you who are from India, you had a big uh, announcement and a uh, release of 5G technology, which the Prime Minister did. And so there's a lot of excitement around how 5G will transform, and there'll be newer applications and newer ways for for companies to engage with customers. So all of the telecommunication companies are looking to provide this next gen set of applications, whether it's for video streaming or for any other use case. This particular one is a European telecommunications company that's looking to offer next gen video streaming over 5G. And the interesting use case here is it's about extending the 5G slices all the way to the application. So when you think about cluster to cluster connectivity, or when you hear about technologies like that, you have to remember that we are probably the only ones that do this connectivity at the application level, where you're actually bringing namespaces onto the slice so that services can discover and communicate with each other. So it's an application level connectivity, which was very interesting to this particular telecommunication company. So they think of how this 5G slice, which is expensive to set up and time consuming to set up, how can you extend that to the application layer very easily? So you have an on-demand show, which is only going to be there for a few hours, or available for a few months. So how do you create an application slice on or a few application slices for each of those shows on a 5G slice, and it brings all those characteristics onto the application, and then it is dissolved once that show is no longer in use. An interesting aspect of our connectivity and KubeSlice in general is that all types of traffic are supported, and Raj likes to emphasize on that a lot. Raj is our CEO, and because it's not just about connectivity with HTTP, you have UDP, you have video streaming, you have different kinds of traffic that KubeSlice can support, and so which is why this makes it a more you know apt connectivity layer for applications where video streaming and other types of traffic are involved, AI, data moving around. So So that even in this case, that isolation that we can provide, we can spin up multiple slices very quickly, and the isolation between different media applications. There's Dheeraj from our company in this call, and he has a demo where he shows that isolation between uh, different media type of applications that that can extend from 5G into the application layer that a telecommunication company like this can leverage. So
Hey,
this,
Olyvia, since you pilled my name, let me give a little bit more context to this, right?
yeah,
I think telcos typically build large infrastructures, right? They build central data centers where they host most of their applications. And then they also build edges and near edges, right? So this typically what you'll see in that space is called an edge continuum. So they have resources deployed centrally, edges closer to the customers, and they treat that as shared infrastructure, right? Which means they have to optimize the spend they put into building these into offering solutions and applications for customers. And they need to maximize how many customers they can pack into those resources, right? That's kind of where there's a critical, painful need, right, for them to be able to deploy applications in a distributed fashion, dynamically through automation, and do it not once and leave it running, but do it based on demand that comes in, right? A customer that might need a temporary service versus a customer that needs a more long-term service, and be able to do that through orchestration and pack as many of them on this, what they call the shared infrastructure. And Kubernetes is the operating system of choice. I intentionally use it as operating system, even though it's not, right? It is the platform that lets them move these workloads across any of the clusters, centrally, edge, depending on what the use case demands, and dynamically through automation. So they can press some buttons and things happen, right? Provision, deprovision, use resources versus free it up for another customer. So that's kind of where that power comes in, is they see KubeSlice as a critical piece of the technology. They use in the telco space, OpenShift is a predominant player, right? But that their role is more in managing Kubernetes clusters, version control, and to some extent, how do you deploy the applications? And KubeSlice is providing connectivity between all the clusters, and is also providing. I'm sorry, I forgot to turn on my video. And also providing multi-tenancy. Right? That way, they can maximize the spend they're doing. It's huge spend. You can always look up reports, 5G, edge, moving to the edge, use cases. And in every one of those use cases, KubeSlice becomes a critical part. So
thank,
hopefully the context helps, right? So
thank you, Dheeraj. Um, so that's all I had in terms of use cases here. Is there anything else, Prasad, you would like to add?
Oh, I'm good. Any questions? I think Avani, you asked about what is QoS. I answered it, right? There are many ways to plug the knob, right? A hierarchical token bucket from gateway to gateway, and then as well as traffic shaping coming in from the pods into the to the gateway. So you can establish all those TC parameters, traffic control parameters, and as well as hierarchical token bucket going across the gateways.
I don't have a question, but it feels like this presentation was pre-planned, Olivia, because Geo 5G actually kind of launched today. So yeah, and
Wow.
yeah, so this just feels really pre-planned, but I know that it wasn't. We had this in our mind for weeks, so I think we
Well,
are
yeah, you had
trendsetters in that
the
regard.
whole big 5G launch in India, right? In Pragati Mandir
Yeah.
today, yeah.
Yeah, Airtel has also launched today, and Jio 5G Plus is launched today. I was just going through that, and I was like, you just said that there's a whole launch, and yeah. So I mean, they I don't know whether we're following them or they're following us, but I'd like to believe that it's always the better use case. But yeah. So yeah, any questions, folks? For any of the experts that are here on the call for Olivia. about whatever we've spoken so far? Like, this will be available as a recording, so you don't need to worry that this is going to run away somewhere. But any questions that you might have, please feel free to ask here or on the Slack channel. Later on, we'll be here to answer them.
Thank you very much. I think Divya, great, and as well as Olivia, giving the use case.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for being there on the call and for being there on a call at this time, especially after all the festivals and not festivals, festival rather. So the major one is just coming in 2 weeks. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining in, and we'll see you on the next session then. And hope you all had an informative one today. If there are any questions, please leave them on Slack. Olivia, Prasad, and everyone's there, so they'll get to it as and when possible. But
Definitely. Thank you,
yeah,
Divya.
thank
Hope this gave some perspective into what we discuss. Every
yes,
week.
yes. Also, I think they'd love. I think linking the slide deck would really help because people would like probably to refer. Maybe a PDF of the slide deck would really help if you post it on the channel or somewhere permanent, so that people can refer it
Okay,
afterwards.
I'll do that. And
Yeah,
remember,
and
next time you play a game or you walk into a high-end retail store, you know that there will be a KubeSlice,
yeah.
adding to that experience at some point.
Yes.
If not
Alrighty
next
then.
year as developers, contact me and tell us you need to do this. So,
Yeah. All right then. I think we can, close for now. Thank you everyone once again, and we'll see you soon. Bye bye.
thank you. Bye bye.
Thanks.